The thing that is scarier than this guy's mugshot is the crime that he committed. Hi, my name is Ethan, and trigger warning, this is a dark case. In Woodstock, Illinois, 2009, Kyle Morgan lured a homeless man into his apartment, promising him food, shelter, and something to drink. A few weeks go by and police were actually called to the apartment due to a foul odor. Nothing in this world could have prepared police for what they were about to see. They discovered the homeless man on the floor with 666 carved into his forehead, and with his blood was satanic symbols all over the walls of the apartment. Kyle was later caught in a different state. However, he was a fighter and he tried to outrun police, but in the midst of that, he actually hit 2 people with his car. He pled guilty but stated that he was mentally ill and received 30 years in prison.
Have you heard of the serial killer who would make his victims into hamburgers and feed them to his unknown customers? His name is Joe Metheny. He weighed over 450 pounds and was over 6 feet tall. He would slaughter his victims and mix their meat into beef and pork and sell them at his food stand to unknown customers. He only spent a year and a half in prison before he was released for lack of evidence and started killing again. He was finally caught when one of his victims, Rita Kempler, was able to escape over an 8-foot chain link fence. This time he was finally arrested and confessed to all of his gruesome murders in graphic detail, showing no remorse. He later died in prison in 2017.
In the 1960s, Charles Manson wanted to become involved in a cult. He declared Scientology was too crazy, so he started his own cult, the Manson family. It quickly grew to over 100 members who Charles would direct to commit vicious crimes. On the night of August 8th, 1969, 4 members of the Manson family are sent to break into the home of actress Sharon Tate and stab her repeatedly. At the time of her death, Sharon was pregnant with a child of Roman Polanski, and the Manson family took the lives of 4 of their close friends and various colleagues. The following day, the members killed Lino LaBianca and his wife, who together owned a local grocery store. This series of murders instantly gained public attention and caused mass hysteria in the community, with everyone wondering, could I be next? However, Charles and many of his cult members were arrested just a few days after the killings, with each of them being sentenced to life in prison for their crimes.
This is the story of one of the largest kidnappings to ever happen in the United States. This is just going to be an overview. If you want all of the details and the full story, go listen to the latest episode of my podcast. On July 15th, 1976, in Chowchilla, California, bus driver Ed Ray picked up a group of 26 students after they went on a summer class field trip. As he was on the route home, he noticed a van stopped ahead, and he tried to maneuver around it, but when he realized it wasn't moving, he came to a stop. Then, 3 armed men got out of the van and forced their way inside the bus. They then drove the bus to meet up with another van and made all of the kids jump from the bus to 2 separate reinforced vans like this one. They then drove the kids and Ed around, locked in the back of these vans in the sweltering summer heat for 11 hours. One of the men also abandoned the bus in a drainage ditch and covered it in debris to try to conceal it. After driving around for 11 hours, they arrived at a rock quarry, which was about 100 miles away from Chowchilla. There, they forced Ed and the children to go into this underground truck trailer that they had buried 12 feet underground. Inside, they had put mattresses, some food and water, and turned the wheel wells into toilets. Once everybody was inside, they covered the top with a heavy metal object and then began piling dirt on top of it. And as you can see, the roof started caving in. Ed was doing everything he could to keep the younger children calm, some of which who were just 5 years old. After about 12 hours, Ed realized that they needed to do something to escape, so they stacked up the mattresses to reach the top. And that's when Ed, along with one of the oldest students, 14-year-old Michael, began trying to move whatever was on top of this hole. It turned out it was a manhole cover and 2 100-pound industrial batteries. Eventually, they were able to move it and were able to dig their way out. Ed then helped all of the kids escape, and they took off looking for help in the rock quarry. Eventually, they found someone who called police, and when police arrived, the kids were so happy. They took the kids to a local jail to be able to evaluate them and give them food and water, because this was the closest place that could house all of them. And eventually, the kids were taken back to Chowchilla to reunite with their parents. Ed Ray was an absolute hero, but the only problem was they did not know where or who the kidnappers were. Eventually, they started looking into the son of the owner of the rock quarry, Frederick Woods. And they discovered that him, along with two of his friends, Richard and James Schoenfeld, had recently been arrested and paroled. They got a search warrant for Woods' property and found this document that said plan that detailed exactly what they were doing. They also found this list of all of the kids' names that the kidnappers had written down. Go to part 2 for an explanation of why they did this.
Dismembered her parents with a chainsaw. Hi, my name is Ethan, and trigger warning, this is a dark case. 43-year-old Verity Beck was a teacher at a Catholic school and apparently hadn't been back since Christmas break. The reasoning why she wasn't back to school was because on January 7th, she allegedly unalived her 73-year-old father and 72-year-old mother, and their names I won't be naming just to give respect to the victim's family. Not only did she do that, but when police arrived at the home, they reported a strong stench. That is where they discovered multiple body parts and also the missing heads, where they had kind of put 2 and 2 together and discovered that she used a chainsaw. Verity's brother asked her what had happened, and she told him, and I quote, "Things were bad at home. My thoughts and prayers go out to this family."
A few things that jump out at me. Number one is just, and this isn't saying innocent or guilt or anything, just a human emotion watching this video, is the size of Matt Farwell versus the size of Sandra Birchmore. He looks almost twice her size. I don't know. I think Matt looks like he's 6'3" or 6'4". He walks in fast. He has a mask on, which is more of a COVID mask, not a traditional winter mask. Walks in fast, head down, hits the button to go up to the 3rd floor, goes in. That, by the way, doesn't mean he killed Sandra Birchmore. The fact that he was in this relationship with her and he was a police officer essentially in that town, my guess is he was not going to be lounging around the hallways there before he goes in. So I get that. And when he leaves fast. I think the other thing that jumps out to me, if I had to rank them, is what we kind of suspected all along. It was interesting to watch Sandra as a 23-year-old would be. And, I have a teenage daughter essentially. So, I mean, she's a teenager, same thing. She has the phone attached to her the entire time. She's talking, she's texting, she's got her phone with her the entire time. Each time you see her, she's got the phone with her, which to me, again, is the biggest red flag for me in the entire story, is the idea that she never contacted another human being again after Matt left that night. After we saw Matt leave, she didn't respond or send a message to anybody. The storyline that the police want you to believe, or do believe, is that Matt left and she essentially was so upset that she killed herself right there without contacting anybody. Obviously I don't believe that. They do.
Now, a really close friend of mine sent me this video and she wanted me to do this, so I'm here to explain the backstory to this whole thing. The woman you see in the video is named Nicola Priest. She is the mother to the little girl you see in the video, Kaylee Jade. Now, Nicole had a small following on TikTok where she would make videos of her dancing and lip singing. And in some of her videos, Kaylee Jade would appear dancing, smiling, and having a good time. At first glance, you wouldn't really see a problem with this account or video. However, when the cameras were off, things would change drastically. Kaylee Jade was abused by her mother and her mother's boyfriend constantly until the time of her death. It's said that Nicola Priest went to a hotel with her daughter to see her boyfriend. At around 9 o'clock at night, she wanted to put Kaylee to sleep so she could get intimate with her boyfriend. However, just like any child would do, Kaylee didn't want to go to sleep. Now, instead of comforting Kaylee like she should have done, they went ahead and beat her. They beat her so hard to the point where she died due to injuries to her chest and abdominal area. So on August 9, 2021 at around 7 a.m., Nicola called the police and the ambulance, but at around that time, Kaylee was already gone. When medical examiners examined Kaylee's body, they compared her injuries to a person falling from the 3rd floor or a child who had just been hit by a bus. Not only that, when Nicola was interrogated, she couldn't give a clear answer to the police on what caused Kaylee's death. This made the police list her down as a suspect to Kaylee's death. And the worst part about it is that a day later, she started posting TikToks like nothing ever happened. And then she slowly started posting tributes and TikToks about her daughter and saying how she did wrong, she misses her, I love you so much, when she was clearly the cause of death to her own daughter. She even posted a video of her crying just to gain sympathy and attention. And then 2 days after that video came out, she started posting dancing TikToks. Eventually the police had enough evidence to put Nicola and her boyfriend in jail. They were charged with manslaughter, and Nicola is doing 15 years in prison while her boyfriend is doing 14 years. Like and follow for more.
This woman locked her boyfriend in a suitcase and recorded him suffocating to death as she laughed. Here is the shocking true crime story of Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone and her boyfriend Jorge Torres had a very rocky relationship, with both having records of domestic abuse in the relationship and Jorge being known to have cheated on Sarah several times. A control freak by nature, Sarah was understandably determined to take back full control of her relationship and life, and on the night of February 23rd, 2020, she would do just that in the most shocking and twisted way. According to the story that Sarah told police, that night they were drinking together and having what sounded like a fun time when they decided to play hide and seek. She hid upstairs in the shower, but after Jorge hadn't found her for some time, she went back downstairs, and then they decided it would be more funny if Jorge could fit himself into the suitcase that Sarah had been using to put old clothes. Jorge then willingly got into the suitcase and Sarah zipped it up using a paper clip as the zipper was broken. She then decided it'd be fun to leave him there for a little while, so she went upstairs where she accidentally fell asleep because she was drunk and forgot to unzip Jorge. In the morning when she woke up, she realized that she'd forgotten about Jorge, so she went downstairs and opened up the suitcase where he was unresponsive and appeared dead. Instead of calling for an ambulance or police, she called her ex-husband to come and help her. When he arrived and saw Jorge's body dead in the suitcase, he told her she needed to call 911 immediately, which she did, and on the call with the operator, as she's explaining what's happened and that her boyfriend is dead, she sounded scarily calm and composed the whole time. This was because the truth of what actually happened was far worse than someone just falling asleep by mistake. The police got a warrant to search her phone, where it revealed 2 videos that showed the truth.
Sarah, I can't breathe, babe.
That's on you.
Sarah, I can't breathe.
It's on you.
Sarah. I can't breathe, babe.
Oh. That's what I feel like when you ching on me.
Sarah.
Fuck you.
I can't breathe, Sarah.
Yeah. You should probably shut the fuck up.
Sarah.
After seeing this footage, police charged her with second-degree murder, and the autopsy determined he had died from positional asphyxiation, and it was definitely a homicide. He had been in the suitcase for 11 hours, had a black eye and bruises all over his body. A neighbour claimed to have heard loud banging like something being pushed downstairs, but that is yet to be confirmed as the trial is still ongoing. Like and follow for more crazy stories like this.